It's still a sin. Any contract that contains a riba, or there is a contractual agreement or a line within the contract that mentions that if you do not do such and such, then we will charge you riba, we will charge you interest at such and such a rate. Or that if you do not return the funds that we have given you, because in essence what we're talking about here is that a finance company will give you money and you pay them for the money that they give you. So you need, for example, £1,000 and they give you £1,000 and they say that you must return £1,200. So we will charge you £200 for the £1,000 that we gave them. So they're sending you money. So this is something that is built in a lot of finance. So sometimes you go to buy a sofa. So they will say, okay, here's a sofa, it is £1,000. If you pay us within a year, then it's £1,000. You say, okay, that sounds riba-free. However, if you do not pay us within a year, then interest kicks in. That contract is forbidden. Why? Because that contract states that we will charge you a certain amount after that. Because what they're giving you in essence, through a finance company, is cash. So this is why sometimes when you go to those companies and you think you're buying from BFS, another contract gets pulled out of the drawer and he says, well, this is the contract between you and the finance company and they're acting on our behalf, so they'll give you £1,000 to buy the sofa from us. So in essence, you will pay through your bank account to this finance company. And if you do not pay within 9 months, or that you delay a payment in any of those months, then they will charge you a late fee of £15 upon every payment that you do not pay on time. That's riba. Why? Because you are paying an excess upon finance that they are giving you. Alright, that is something that is haram and you should avoid it. Is it a sin? Of course it is a sin. This is the ayn of riba. Shaykh Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah, he stated that in Jahiliyyah what the people used to do was they used to say, well, here's 100 dinar, I'll come and collect it off you in 6 months. He would go back in 6 months, say, give me my 100 dinar, otherwise pay me another 3 dinar on top. Riba, that is the ayn of riba. Right? What's that? That's a late fee. That if it goes beyond a certain time or it extends to a certain time, then we want, when you take it for that period of time, you want extra money back. So avoid it. Not difficult. In certain situations, it's not easy because it's almost inbuilt in almost everything that is purchased these days, from phone contracts to whatever, even utility bills and whatever, car insurance, they build it in. So what you should do is avoid it as much as you can and keep away from it as much as you can. Fear Allah and be dutiful to Him as much as you are able. Keep away from these contracts. These contracts are riba, and of course there are those contracts which no Muslim should enter into aslan. And those are contracts that contain this type of riba in them. And from the worst of them and the most insidious of them in our times that they convince and they deceive the youth with, the Muslim youth, is the student loan. This is from the greatest of deceptions that is played upon the Muslims. And worst of all is that you find those individuals who, in the name of Islam, with flowing beards and scarves upon their heads and wearing thobes, that they give fatwa telling the Muslim youth to go out and take riba. And this is established especially from those ignoramuses and those sufaha and those ruwaybida in London. Many of the students that they go to them because their parents are pushing them into education. The father and mother want them to pay for the education. How dare you send your daughter or your son into education and then you say, well, go take education because I'll make it obligatory upon you. Well, pay for it then. If you're obligating it upon them, pay for it. On top of that, you want them to take riba? You want them to take riba in the student loan and then go into education? Upon a sin, in an education establishment that is most probably a sinful establishment anyway in terms of ikhtilat and premixing. So some of our sisters, they are compelled, and some of our brothers, they are compelled by their parents to take out riba. So when they see her to you, my brothers, my younger brothers, the youth, Do not obey your parents in that which involves disobedience to Allah. The Prophet ﷺ said there is no obedience to the creation in disobedience to the Creator. Do not obey your parents when they ask you to disobey Allah. Do not obey them. Do not put a sin upon their head by obeying them, because by obeying them, you've added a sin to them. Because they've commanded you with a sin, and you've acted upon the sin. So they take the burden of a share of that sin. And then you yourself are going to fall into sin. Not only that, look at the hardship that they're putting you through. How much is the average course? How much is the average course? Anyone know? Anyone inquire? How long does it take? 3 years, let's say. How much? For the full 3 years? 27,000? More than that? Living with about 40,000? 40,000 plus. 40,000 for 3 years, ya ikhwan? Are you majnoon? What's the matter with you? Who would you give 40,000 plus pounds to for 3 years? And some of those courses are what? 4 or 5 hours a week? Maybe 10 hours a week. 40,000 pounds plus. You could buy a house in Lancashire for that. Not in London, up north you could. In Pakistan you could buy a villa. Same in Bangladesh, in Morocco you could buy a beautiful beachside apartment. 40,000 pounds. One of the biggest cons that is running today. Don't do it, barakallahu fi. Don't take the sin upon it. Aqlan, just intellectually doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any reasoned sense. That a person would go through all of that. If you want a degree, we don't say don't take a degree. To get a degree, you can get a degree online through almost any university these days. Better than some of these garbage universities that we have today. These are sixth form colleges pretending to be universities. Alright? Someone on top of his, on top of a building in a small apartment in his university now. Some of these universities just cons. You can go online, get a degree, you know that you've actually achieved something, and they're part-time degrees, so you can work, earn your living with your own hands, send them the fees for the work that you do, and it doesn't come to 40,000, 50,000 pounds. Alright, and you can take some of the best universities in the world. You don't have to be in Britain. If you have money, that kind of money to invest, go and invest them in a Muslim country. Send your money to a Muslim country, build the Muslim countries. Riba. When you hear what these people are doing to the youth by encouraging them to take student loans, and you end up spending, for the next 20 odd years, that's a mortgage practically. That's what it is. It's a low interest mortgage that you're taking out. Just for a certificate at the end of it, it's not worth it, barakallahu people. Or as an alternative, which I've seen some of the brothers do, they take an online degree from a reputable university, and they go to their relatives, and each year they go to a group of relatives and they say, listen, this year's course is going to cost, see here, just for the course, about 9,000. Let's say 9,000, right? If you go overseas, it's even cheaper actually, but let's say 9,000. So you go to a group of relatives and you say, well, this year I'm doing some work, I'm doing some part-time work, I'm trying to get a degree. So, you go to 4 or 5 relatives and you say, each of you give me £2,000. And you make a contract with them and say, within 10 years, inshallah, I will pay you. 10 years, I will pay you back. That is more worthy, and it is halal. And your relatives, they will have an emotional investment in you. And they will encourage you. And you can work. And you're earning with your own hands. And you will pay back. And there is no riba. Why not do that? It's not that we don't want our youth and our children to be educated. Of course we do. But not by doing something haram.